Stevie Fast Jackson, KTR, inside the shop for episode 3 of Stevie Fast Q&A. Our inbox has been flooded with questions. We picked out a bunch of them today, I think 16, 18 of those deals. And I enjoy you guys' passion for what we do. I read it a lot. First thing really I do when I get up in the morning is see what we got in the inbox and see how much fan mail and hate mail we got. So we're going to roll through some stuff, keep them coming, and we'll try to get to them. First question comes from Paul. Stevie, what transmission setup do you use, and how's it shifted time, DCU, or programming? Two different ones. In the outlaw stuff, like when we run the Shadow at Radio vs. the World, or when we run outlaw big tire events and ProMod stuff, it's got a 4-speed Lenco with a tie drive and a Neil Chance lockup torque converter. It is air shifted via ACD box and a combo flow air management deal. And we also have some redundant stuff that ships that I have an override button that sometimes you'll have to poke it in second if it's shaking. You'll use that to shift it in the water box when you're doing the burnout. Normally, small tires, we call it frying high, we start in high gear. These things have enough power, really, we can do the burnout in high gear all the time, big tire and small tire. NHRA, 3-speed Lenco transmission with a tie drive and an open non-lockup Neil Chance torque converter, shifted by ACD box and a combo flow. Same deal, I have redundant override stuff to shift it. Sometimes you got to manually shift it. If it's rattling, shaking, and you're racing, you got to get it in second gear. So you'll see me, if you ever see any in-car camera where I reach over and it looks like I'm doing something, I'm poking in second. Pretty simple and to the point. Question number 2. What's the difference between the 3 butterfly hat versus the 4 butterfly hat that we run? Is that all there is to it from CL? Really, it's preference. It's air delivery into the supercharger as well as how the fuel runs through the hat. The fuel systems on a blower car have got more and more complex throughout the years. It used to be it just had like a main jet and a couple high speeds. Now we run fuel all over places through the hat, top of the supercharger, under the supercharger, different places in the supercharger, in the manifold. The 3-blade and the 4-blade are more a preference. That's why you see them all over the place. Everybody always has the argument of which is better. We even have a 2-blade hat, like the Jeff Bohr hat. Really, to be funny, but it's truthful, it depends on what I want to spell out on the injector blade. It ends up being whether it's a 2, 3, or 4. So if I'm running good, it's probably going to have a 4. I'm going to be talking more shit. But really, it's just personal preference. It's kind of like anything. Screw blower deal, some guys like the big 4-blade hat, some of them like the big 3-hole hat. It is really personal preference. And to be honest with you, I think they all run pretty competitively. I haven't seen a massive gain or loss in any of them. That supercharger's sucking air at such a high velocity. I always joke around and say you could put a mailbox up there and it'd run pretty good. So that kind of answers that one. Jacob Manella, Chris Mustard. What happened to the nitro car, and what do you plan on doing with it? And then also, again, whatever happened to the Pumpkins Maker. I wish I still had my orange Pro Nitrous car, because the way the rules are in NHRA right now, I would absolutely dust that thing off and bring it out there. We sold that thing when we got into the blower program. I had to put all of those eggs in the blower car basket, so we sold it and allowed Jay Cox to be able to win some races in PDRA finally. Because we could crush them in the ground. And I can't tell you who bought it because I don't know if they want me to know, but it's in the northern part of the country, and I do miss it. Absolutely miss that thing. Miss PDRA racing too. Next question comes from Groom Lake. This is a long question. I'll kind of read through it as we go. Thank you for showing Chamber. Does your roots set up front load the manifold pretty bad? You guys run a lot less compression in 1 and 2 than 7 and 8 like most of the Alky guys. We do run, front loading the manifold is kind of a loaded question because it depends on the floor of the manifold, depends on the manifold design, blower setback, and how each supercharger manufacturer builds the supercharger, hat location, the height of the hat. It's kind of a loaded question and we'd run out of bandwidth, like I like to say, before I answer that. But it does front load it. We do run less compression in 1 and 2, but I don't have a lot of cylinders in my engine that have the same compression. They're staggered all over the place. That's kind of a rule the way I run my engines and my fuel system. If it's more than a 10% change from the least fueled cylinder to the most fueled cylinder, that cylinder will get compression change up or down to kind of even it up. when you run these things on the ragged edge like we do, you have to treat, it's an 8-cylinder engine, but you got to treat each cylinder like it's its own engine. You have to demand the absolute most from it. They run really good when you get all 8 spark plugs hot, get the porcelain on, get the straps almost polished and get it rolling. I approach it much more. When you look at it as a blanket engine, you're missing 30 horsepower. 30 horsepower in these things quarter mile will kill you. You'll not qualify, you're missing that. So it's kind of a loaded question. It'd be really cool to see the ignition map compared from the Radio versus the World car to the Pro Mod. That would be like finding Jimmy Hoffa's body for you to let you see my ignition map. That stuff's in like supercode. I got my man Matt working on encrypting it where when somebody walks in the office in the trailer, it shuts it down. But it's not as different as what you would think early. The ratio package and mechanical side of it takes a lot of it up, and we'll adjust torque converter, gear, ratio, fuel system a lot, Radio versus the World versus Pro Mod. It's really hard to keep all the holes lit in a Radio versus the World deal. So you end up running the fuel system much meaner in the main jet and less lean out control down track. Also, if you were to look at the tune-up in the first foot and a half of the run, it wouldn't look that much different. Mainly because the track prep on radio is so good. It's so much better of a track prep than what you get to run on Pro Mod. Now, after 5 or 6 tenths of a second, the radial tire tune-up is slammed in there. Just for reference, just say on a decent NHRA track, you're all in on fuel and timing at 2 seconds. A hot rod radial tire run that goes 930s and runs 243, 245 to half track will be all in at 1.1 or 2. It's just the way you run the setup and the way you're able to run the setup on that flypaper track dictates that you're able to do that. Yeah, you did win our first internet contest. Congratulations. Normally, if me and Phil are looking like we're in a good conversation, he's probably yelling at me for doing something stupid, or I'm cussing him out for yelling at me. But anytime you see us, come say hey. If I'm really busy, I won't talk to you, but most of the time I love talking to you guys. Said you're flying for Cruise. Tell Cruise to let me drive that thing one time, and I'll show him how to hold it to the floor. I can blow the body off way better than what he can. One of the first Pro Mods I ever seen was a Wild Bunch car. Now that you bring that up, Carolina Dragway was in the 1980s. They came, and I was just there spectating. I think with my dad. I was really young, 6, 7, 8 years old, and the Wild Bunch came. And when I saw those blower cars and those normal-looking race cars, that was part of the deal that fit me. Yeah, that was awesome. One more question: you run a shoe in the manifold, or have you tried one? I run a Nike Air Max in the manifold. That's all I'll say about that. 706 Films. Would y'all build another No Time Grudge car again? Yeah, probably. I love grudge racing. I come from it, and it's where I get some of my tenacity and where I honed a lot of my driving skills. I would probably love to build one. The Shadow was always intended to be a No Time Grudge car. It just got shoehorned into Radio versus the World racing, and now NHRA Pro Mod. But if the funds permitted and windows open up to have time to do that, I would love to do that. With that being said, anybody that would like to bring a No Time Grudge car and race something that I have, it's easy to do that. You just need a deposit. Barry Smith, how many engines a season do we have ready to go? In our camp, we have 3 cars, Jeff Sitton's Hyde car, the Shadow, and then my NHRA car, which is crashed now but will be replaced. Between the 3 of us, we have 9 Hemis, and we cycle them through as we service them. We get 35 to 75 runs out of a crankshaft, 15 to 25 runs out of a set of rods. Pistons and rings were pretty good about lasting, and we service valve springs, valves, everything at different intervals. To run 3 cars, we normally have 9 engines, 3, 3, and 3. NHRA race, I try to take the engine that's in the car and 2. It's a lot. Keeping up with the parts inventory for 3 blown Pro Mods and what's wore out and what's not, it's massive. I got a spreadsheet. It'll blow your mind. Toby Mitchell, how did me and Chad Henderson meet? I can talk for 20 minutes about my buddy Chad. Me and Chad met in 2008 running Orska Easy Street. He had the G-Body. Monty Smith was tuning it, and me and him were pretty good rivals. His wife Marie, we raced everything. He is the reason that I made a billet cylinder head for my E-Z-GO golf cart and burned the thing up because I put too much compression in it. Because Marie said that their golf cart could outrun my golf cart and we weren't going to have any of that. I was too stupid to put racing gas in it. So I did a billet head and made the thing like 15-1 and ran it on 87 octane and burnt it off the road. But we met racing in 2008. I think me and Chad went to several finals and raced against each other that year, and we were very close. Like back then, it was both our cars ran high 490s, 496 to 501. He had a 632. I had a 6 something with a Pro Charger at one point, 540 with a Pro Charger. We were putting nitrous motors in and out, and we met from being competitors. And I have a keen ability of knowing when somebody's got a good heart when I meet them. And Chad and Marie are good as they are, best people in the world. Chad's actually helping me right now. I'm growing corn because I stink at racing so bad, so I'm gonna become a farmer like him. So Chad's got me some nitrous injected corn seeds we got. That stuff's about 8 foot tall, so in a shot. I'll show you sometime. Derek Stewart, any particular reason you run a roots blower versus a PSI screw type? Is there a way of entry? In NHRA, we can't run a screw. I would love it if we could. In Radio vs. the World and other stuff that we run, it just kind of depends on what the current rule package is at that time. Lately, the rules have favored a roots blown application a bunch. I think the screws are way too heavy, so we'll run a roots. We have both. We have blowers. We have everything set up here to do both, and we can actually swap them at the racetrack. The screw makes about another 700 horsepower, 700 to 800 horsepower. But right now in Radio vs. the World, I think it's got to be 380 pounds, 400 pounds heavier. It's not viable when the sun's out. You can haul butt with one, but if the track gets 120 degrees at 29, 25, they're just not competitive. Now, if somebody wants to grudge race, I'm slapping a big Stanky on there. We're going to put the pterodactyl on there and get with it. Zach B, what's your best advice for someone trying to go small tire racing? You've got 86 S10, you want to get to X275, and we'll come to Norwalk for the shakedown. My best advice is to get a good job and get some friends that really like you. And after a year of racing, you'll find out how good your job is and whether your friends like you or not. The cool thing about small tire racing is that when you're starting out, do not go to these big events with all these high rollers. Go to a local track, get involved in their X275 program, and learn how to race your car or your truck. You know, racing is, everybody forgets, I know I do myself, I struggle with it a lot, that racing is supposed to be fun, and we do it so much and work at it so hard it becomes a job. If you're just getting out in small tire racing, you don't have a lot of experience, get into a local racetrack, even get in, maybe run 6.0 or something with it, put 275s on it, and get your truck sorted out and learn how to tune it for different conditions before you just haul it, lights out and dump it in 275. It's cool to hang out with, but that's a really competitive class, and there's a lot of people with nice stuff. I would say get in something you can make a lot of laps relatively inexpensive and learn how to race your truck. Mark, what do I enjoy tuning or driving more and blower or nitrous? Woo, that's a 7-hour question too. When I was a kid, up into my mid-20s, I would absolutely say driving. A little later in my life and now in my career, there are a whole bunch of days where I love tuning it and I don't want to put all that stuff on and get in the car. When it's running good, it's really fun to drive it. When it's not, I really enjoy tuning it. The struggle of tuning the deal and figuring out the performance advantages to make the car faster, I really enjoy that. Phil Schuler tells me all the time that as a driver, when you fire the car and roll it through the water, all I can do from there on is mess it up. You can't enhance it, you can't make it go any faster, you can't do anything to help it. And as drivers, we get hung up in that, a lot. We do all kind of things thinking we can make it better, and you can't. I enjoy both. I hope that I can do both for a long time. I'll tune these things way longer than I drive them, I hope. And blower nitrous, I'm a blower guy through and through. There's just nothing like a big old loud, stinky, nasty sounding screw blower, roots blower at 10,000 RPM. I wish I could take some of you guys with me and let you feel that thing when it gets to 10,000. It's a sound. I know y'all think it sounds cool in the stands. You ought to be strapped behind this time bomb built by rednecks that's about to explode and kill me. It's cool. I like nitrous racing. The way that NHRA Pro Mod rules are written right now, I wish I had a nitrous car. And I enjoy tuning a nitrous car. That's a different skill set. That's a skill set that a lot of people think that they have, but not many people do. And that's why you see so few people running successful with big inch nitrous motors. I like tuning them both. Blower definitely preference hands down though. Doors hammers, the PDR point series. We ever run nitrous again? You guys come back and bear this. Definitely, I don't want to ever say I'm not going to run nitrous again. I've got still got all our old nitrous stuff as far as equipment. Don't have the car anymore, sold the engines. Nitrous racing is kind of like pro stock racing, at least at an ultra competitive level. You don't want to just sit on engines for 5 years. So if you're going to take a break and you've got a top level pro nitrous deal, you get rid of your stuff, and then when the new stuff is out, you buy it in 3 or 4 years. Otherwise, you're so far behind when you try to catch up, or your engines aren't worth anything. So I don't want to rule it out, but right now this blower program is kicking my butt, and it's right where I want to be. I'm having fun. Coming back to Bearfest, I like Bearfest. If it's in an open weekend this year, and we have a chance to go do that, we'll definitely. I think we either won that deal last year or ran pretty good. I think I had a screwball on there. I think I was 5/10 ahead of field or something. But yeah, if it's an open weekend, that's Darlington Dragway, that's right down the road, and I would love to come to that. Backing up a question, somebody asked me if I was coming to Norwalk for the shakedown. I would love to come to Norwalk. I missed that question. The shakedown always seems to be on top of an NHRA event. I know last year it was. And if we get the opportunity to come, I love running at Norwalk, love the people up there, and I've been coming. One of the first races I went to, outlaw races I went to, was the shakedown. I think we won the shakedown. I don't know. But yeah, if we get a chance to do that, we will too. Sorry, I missed that one. Sergeant Engineer, Sheriff, from you. Can you think of the response question? Everyone, blah blah blah. Feedback was spot on. It's brought very interesting insight, much appreciated. Sarge's got a follow-up last question. With the challenges, car regulations, and uncertainty of track condition, would you say you get more satisfaction from mechanical traction solution using the drivetrain, or would you prefer power management control system strategy through the power management? There is no correct answer for that, and it's always evolving. People ask me all the time when you get lost. When you see people that are lost at the racetrack, it happens to me, it happens to everybody. They ask me, why don't you just load in a tune-up from last year? You went, for instance, at Norwalk last year, we went 582, no problem. Why can't we put that 582 in there and go run that? Your parts on the race car and the way you run a car is always evolving. There is no single, unless you run a clutch and we're not allowed to run any power management, you would never do it all mechanically with torque converter, clutch, and gear. I like to use a mixture of all of it. Torque converter, gear ratio, and then ignition advance and fuel all melted together. They do different things, and they affect the engine, the car, and the tire differently at different points in the run. If I can't get the tire going on the starting line, there's not a lot that I can do in the first 6 inches of the run to get that wheel speed. The first thing I'm going to do is put gear in the transmission or in the rear end if we can. NHRA won't let us do anything to make the car fast, so we can't put gear in it or anything that you could ever think that you would want to do to make the car fast is illegal. So you would do that. If you've got a situation where the engine's getting really ticked off really fast, through the middle of a power curve, through the shake zone, ignition timing affects the engine faster than fuel. Fuel is a smoother way to bring power in. So, if you've got a finicky area through the shake zone where you're trying to tickle the motor to get it up, I'm going to do that with fuel. Fuel is not instant, and it's a smoother linear curve. So we use, basically, to answer your question, I use all of that every run, and I'm always messing with it. And that's why all my guys want to quit and hate me all the time, because it's nothing for me to be 10 minutes from running Q1 at an NHRA race and have a yard of transmission out of it or yard of converter out of it. There's races we change stator 4 times in 4 runs. So I'm not bashful on changing parts. I know what it all is going to do, and I'm good at it. That's my skill set. Joshua, curious to know how much Chuck Ford's involved in my engine program. When we run blowers and hats and heads, there's a top secret information. Chuck's 5 minutes from your shop. Chuck's not really involved in our engine program. He does our blowers and our hats. Here lately, we have got much closer with I guess maybe trying to help each other a little bit in that. He's not really involved in manifold down right now at this time. Not to say we won't go that way in the future. Chuck's a really smart guy. He's forgotten more about blower racing than I'll probably ever know, and I definitely would lean on his experience if we go that way. He's got a killer set of heads and a killer engine program. When their car made good runs, I mean, they're facts. Jim Whiteley and Stephen Whiteley's cars are hot rods. Jeremy Ray's car is running good right now. And all of those use Chuck's engine program. So right now we don't, not to say that we wouldn't. Chuck's a smart guy. He's crazy, he's a man. Pool's performance. Did you get a new PR manager? You seemed a little toned down, not the normal smack-talking grudge racer I know. No PR manager, and if I had one, they can't make me not say what I want to say. The truth is, I got this question like 20 times at the racetrack. The last 8 weeks, we've been running like crap, and it's hard for me to, I'm not like a Keith Haney or somebody that can talk about winning and never be able to win anything. I am much more of a, I can tell you I'm going to do it, and I'm going to slap you in the face on the way while I'm doing it. So when our cars run like shit, that race car is directly tied to my happiness. And anybody that's successful at this feels the same way about it. When that car is running like crap, I feel like crap. That car is running good, I'm on top of the world. And we're not doing as good of a job running that thing. I don't have a good handle on it right now, and we're getting slapped around pretty good right now. So I'm toned down because my car is toned down. We'll get a handle on this. I'm tenacious, and I'm not going to lose. I'll just put it like that. We're going to figure it out. And when the car starts running good, you'll get a little more to old school Stevie K for sure. Bobby Jackson, might be related to him. Technical question, what's the benefit of a two-step system and a blown pro mod? I've been following the class closely since on Randy Moore and the Hero Scotty Cannon days, and love to hear him rev the car left the clutch start line. Now it's a two-step thing, and he's not particularly a fan of that, but he loves the class. The biggest advantage of the two-step is just leaving it at the same RPM all the time. I wish that they would outlaw all electronics, all that crap, auto shifters, rev limiters, give us a stick, make us manually shift these deals, and let's go race. Give us a 6-shooter and we'll find out who can drive these things. But until they do that, if you're running against a guy with a rev limiter and you're trying to stage that thing without one, you're going to get your tail blown out every time. Because as on the edge as our cars are and the way the track prep is right now, if I miss the launch RPM 100, it's going to affect it and knock it down the track. Now, not to say we can't slow the thing down and have it where we take that away, but running on the ragged edge, being competitive, it's got to be the same thing. So I've always been from the thought process, I wish we had no electronics, get rid of all the crap, all the traction control, all the bull crap that makes racing hard and expensive, and let's see who can drive these things. But until they do that, I'm not going to suck at it trying to prove a point. My job at the end of the day is winning races, and when it comes to that, anything that's within the rules, I'm going to do that. But I'm with you. I wish we all had two steps and clutches, no auto shifters, and everybody, about half the field, would be flipped over after Q1. Ronald, do I ever think I'll have an online speech at Performance Parts Store, and when will I be in Florida? That's kind of a dream of mine, is to open up a deal like that, and I've been working towards that for a while. It's been close before, and it gets put on the shelf. You will at some point see KTR expand into online parts sales. It'll be a much more hardcore parts market, more dedicated to hot rod type of stuff. And I sell stuff online all the time from like in our store when we're cycling out engines and stuff. Like right now we're getting ready to cycle engines, so we've got a bunch of Hennies and stuff for sale that'll be coming up on there, and blowers and blocks and heads. And if you've got a specific blower car related part you're looking for, you call me and I probably got it. But yeah, I would say definitely that is in the future, probably not the near future. Right now I got to dig out this hole I'm in. But yeah, you'll see it. In Florida, we will not come back to Florida until December probably. We'll be there. I like to come run the snowbirds and stuff. So November, December, and then throughout the whole winter, we'll be in there testing in and out. Orlando at Ozzy's track, and then Bradenton's a good place to run too. We kind of pick between those two, depending on who's got the best weather. You'll probably see us at the World Street Nationals. All right, look at this again. 70 Novacek, in an interview with Wes Buck at Lights Out 9, he brought up that your tuning duties on other cars there and how many cars do you tune for outside of the KTR stable. Good luck to our team at the Thunder Valley Nationals. Your good luck did not work because we absolutely stunk to join up at the Thunder Valley Nationals and got my head kicked in. First of all, shout out to yellowbullet.com. Novacek's on Yellow Bullet, and all you Yellow Bullet folks, we appreciate your support. I used to tune way more cars than what I do now. There was a time where I was running full time and tuning 15 race cars. And at Lights Out, I think a year or two ago, I was tuning like 6 total cars. I've tried to cut that back. Reason is I get emotionally attached to these cars. If I'm working on something and I'm getting, it doesn't matter if I get paid $1 a day or $5,000 a day to work on it, it affects me when it doesn't run good. And a lot of times it's not even a fault of my own, like the differential will fall out of the thing or something. But I can't stand for that customer to go to the racetrack and their car not run good. So because of that, I've had to limit the amount. I just don't have enough time. But on average, I would say prior to 2 years ago, I was tuning on our stuff plus 15. I've cut that way back to a close circle around me. And all the people that contact me all the time that want me to work on your stuff, I appreciate it. Don't think I'm snobby. Generally, if I turn you down, it's just because I don't have time. I would much rather not charge you a bunch of money and go work on your stuff than to go work on it and it run like crap because I don't have time to develop it. Generally, if I work with someone, it's a long-term program. I used to get really excited about showing up to the racetrack, sorting your car out in 3 or 4 runs, and you go out there and set personal best or a record. The problem with that is when that customer goes and shares that data with someone, or when the next person that comes down the road gets that, eventually you build a wall in a circle where you're racing against yourself. I have tuned on people's stuff before and showed up and looked at it and I'm like, that's my tune-up. Like, I wrote that, like that's my stuff. So I'm really particular and careful about who I work on, and I'm much more selective these days. So that kind of closes that. Thank you guys for tuning in to episode 3 of KTR Question and Answer. I really appreciate you guys sending in questions. I read every single one of them, and I try to get back to as many people as I can. Keep sending them in, keep subscribing, keep liking and commenting on our YouTube channel, and we definitely appreciate your support. I want to take a minute to announce the debut of the 2018 Shadow NHRA shirt. Me and Scott at Classic Graphics have been working on this deal for a while. It's kind of one of them wild out there deals. This is what happens when you let me kind of design something. Hope you guys like it, and you can get it and all of our apparel at www.stevejacksonracing.com. There's a link on there domestic and a link for international sales. And as always, we appreciate you guys' support. Thank you for your feedback. We'll see you next time. Thank you.